While that's loading up, let's go ahead and get the shared screen up on as well. Okay, I think we're good. There we go. Yep. We have screenage. Very nice. Very nice. Move that over there. And we'll just give it a minute for anyone who is a late arrival to join in for our discussion. After all, it takes a while for YouTube to send things out, people to log in through Zoom, and that's the price we pay for technology. Still shorter than driving to the class, though, I'm sure. All right, well, it's 12:01. That's our sort of usual start time, and I'll just stretch out this buffer by a few more words, and then let's get down to work. Here we are in Parashat Devarim, the beginning of the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. And as I've often said, the namings of things in Hebrew, well, we're not very creative. Take the first word and we're usually good, or at least the first significant word. So in the book of Deuteronomy, we begin with a recap by Moshe. Moses is giving sort of a recount of how we got to this place, and this place being the east bank of the Jordan River immediately prior to the crossing. This is going to cover a very short time period in which Moses is going to rehash many of the stories that we've already seen, fill in a few blanks, and certainly give his own spin and interpretation on other things, and both reiterate, clarify, and in some cases introduce for the first time that we've seen in text some of the mitzvot that are going to be needed. So it is an incredible book. It is written in a very different style than the rest of the Torah because this is primarily long speeches by Moses of one form or another, but that should not dissuade us. Now, we're going to be taking a look here in chapter 3, and we're going to be looking at a particular episode that Moses would like to cover in his sort of clip show of what's been going on so far for the last, well, 40 years. And in particular, we're going to be looking at the incident with Bashan. That's one of the areas nearby. And in particular, especially their king, Og. Now, Og is famous for being a giant, and we are going to talk about that extensively. But before we get to his ginormousism, and before we see his giantism, we are going to take a look at the episode as described by Moses, because, well, as usual, we will find that in his terminology, we are let into insights that we would otherwise miss. So, chapter 3, verse 1, let's begin. We faced about, this is carrying on from the end of chapter 2 with the confrontation with the Ammonites, and we face about, because the Ammonites have their own territory that they are allowed to keep, and we went up the route to Bashan, coming up on the eastern side of what is now called the Jordan River and was called the Jordan River back then too. And Og, king of Bashan, came out to meet us. Now, this is not exactly a greeting kind of meet us. This is a hostile. He and all his fighting people in battle at Edrei, excuse me, we'll do the Hebrew versus English. And Adonai said to me, "Do not be afraid of him, for into your hand I give him and all his fighting people and his land. You will do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who sat as ruler in Heshbon." So we are getting an extra chizuk, an extra bit of strength here. God is saying to not be afraid of Og. We're going to have to figure out why he might have been more afraid of Og than anyone else. That will come back. And don't just jump to the, well, he was a giant definition. That is not a safe answer in this class. But we are also being reminded that, indeed, we had already defeated Sihon, who came out to attack us as well, who was the king of the Amorites. Verse 3 continues, "And Adonai our God gave into our hand Og, king of Bashan, as well, and all his fighting people. We struck him until there was not left with not till there was not left him a survivor. I love Fox's translation, but it is a little bit clunky sometimes in the English. But so this is a massive victory in this battle. We're going to get into some difficult topics here, so hold on for a second as we go into verse 4. We conquered all his towns at that time, and there was no city that we did not take from them. 60 towns, all the region of Argob, of the kingdom of Og at Bashan. These would have been the little village towns all around this area. All of these fortified towns with a high wall, double-doored with a bar, aside from the towns of the open country, dwellers exceedingly many. So these are the real fortified towns. There would have been other towns as well that were also part of the conquest. We devoted them to destruction. So this is what's known as cherem, which we've talked about just a few classes ago, a couple months ago, where the idea is that something is prescribed, that it is not kept as part of the loot. But this becomes very difficult as we continue to read. We devoted them to destruction, as we had done to Sihon, king of Heshbon, devoting to destruction every town, men, women, and little ones. And this is extremely painful for a modern reader, and indeed for our classical scholars as well. The totality of the destruction was something that was considered normal in the ancient world and was considered important at this particular junction in Jewish history when our people were so fragile. It is not something that was encouraged or celebrated as being a long-running goal. That cherem of this nature was reserved only for very specific cases. So this is not something that we hold up as a bright point. This is something we look at as being a terrible necessity at that particular juncture, but not something that was repeated in anything like a casual manner. Continuing on, while every head of cattle and the spoils of the town we took as plunder for ourselves. This did make the Israelites richer. And we took at that time the land from the hand of the two kings of the Amorites that were in the country across the Jordan, from Wadi Arnon to Mount Hermon. So this is the entire eastern bank of the Jordan River, as we would be familiar now with the country of Jordan itself. And I'm noticing that I'm getting some horrible lag. I'm hoping that that's not ruining the recording and transmission for those watching, but I'm just going to keep going and hope that it's coming out okay. There's not much else I can do at this point. Sidionim call Hermon Sirion, but the Amorites call it Sinir. So this is trying to name the mountain that was being used as one of the landmarks. Verse 10, all the towns of the plateau and all of Gilad and all of Bashan, as far as Salka and Ederi, these towns of the kingdom of Og at Bashan. So this is giving us this entire region as having been conquered at this time. Now, verse 11 is where things get a little bit more interesting from an, mythological point of view. For only Og, king of Bashan, was left of the rest of the Rephaim, the Rephaites. Here, his couch or bed in many translations was a couch of iron. Is it not in Rabbah of the children of Ammon, 9 cubits in length, 4 cubits in width, by the cubit of a man? All right, we're going to be really drilling down on this verse because we have to figure out what it is trying to say. So first of all, we have Og being identified again. But Og was one of the Rephaim. Now, who were the Rephaim? Well, the Rephaim, we know from other texts, were considered to be akin to the Anakites. The Anakites were considered to be giants in the ancient world. And that seems to be borne out, at least through a superficial reading of the rest of the verse, because it says that his bed, or his couch, the place where he would lounge upon it, and presumably indicative of his height, was 9 amot, 9 cubits long. Now, how long is a cubit? Well, this is a matter of some controversy, but only in the details, the plus or minus.